Nehemiah. Nehemiah chapter 3. And I'm excited about it. This one took a little bit. It took a little bit of a lot of dissecting, a lot of counting, it took a lot. But I'm excited about this word. I'm excited about what happens in Nehemiah chapter 3, or what has happened in Nehemiah chapter 3. I'm excited about what God is saying in Nehemiah chapter 3 to me. And I hope that this message touches you as well. Again, Nehemiah chapter 3, if you haven't seen 1, and if you haven't seen chapter 2, then go back and watch them, or just read them and get your own interpretation. But here is the revelations that God has given me. I'm going to definitely jump around a lot in this one because I can't pronounce a lot of these names, and that's okay. But in the beginning, it starts out, and this is the walls are being rebuilt in this whole chapter. And so it says, then Elisha, the highest priest, rose up with his brethren, the priests, and built the sheep gate. And so that's how this starts out. He built the sheep gate. And God began to speak to me about the building of things, of how before you can build, you must, as we have discovered, you must have a blueprint. And so as I read through this chapter, I counted the word repair. How many times they use the word repair? They use the word repair 40 times. Nehemiah, in telling us, he used the word repair 40 times. And then the word built was used 8 times. And I could have miscounted. I could have missed something, but this is just what I have seen and how I have counted in my purple pen all throughout my Bible. Here's the key. Here's what God began to show me as I was reading. It said they consecrated it and they hung its doors. They built it far from the towers of the hundreds, and they consecrated it then as far from the towers of Hanel. Next to Elisha, the men of Jericho built. And next to them, Zachar, the son of Imri, built. And so when I was reading, it was next to them, next to them, next to them. So as soon as they consecrated and as soon as they got to work, everybody around them began to work. God said, if the people around you aren't working, then how are you not motivating them? When I'm around people, they want to do better. If I start cleaning, everybody starts cleaning. When you start talking, everybody starts talking. And so it's like a domino effect. If you just start doing what God has called you to do, then everybody will line up and do what God has called them to do. I kept reading and I got to this. And so we get to the repairs. But here it says in verse 5, it says, next to them, the Tokiites made repairs, but their nobles did not put their shoulders to work of their Lord. Their nobles did not put their shoulders to work. What that means is all of these people from verse 1 of chapter 3 to verse 4 of chapter 3, it's this person next to this person next to this person is working. And then you get to these nobles, these people who they can't see what you see. They don't believe in what you believe in. And they are refusing to work. They will not put their shoulders to work. Here's what God said. Even if they refuse to work, you still must do your work, because immediately following verse 5, it says in verse 6, moreover, the son of Paseah, the son of Bozadiah, repaired the old gates and laid the beams and hung the doors with the bolts and the bars. And so even though these nobles right smack in the middle of verse 4 and verse 6 were not working, everyone around them was still working. It doesn't matter if your children aren't doing their part. It doesn't matter if your spouse is not doing their part. It doesn't matter if the people you work with are not doing their part. Still do your part. Repair the things that are close to you. And so when I was writing the devotional this morning, and it's attached to this video, go back and read it. When I was writing the devotional this morning, God began to reveal to me that everybody has a part to do. No one is exempt from working. The nobles will eventually have to follow suit. We don't see it now, but eventually they will have to. Otherwise, the things around them will lie waste. Because as I began to study, I learned that the people repaired the things that were closest to them. They repaired the things that were close to their home. Sometimes we go so far away from our homes and we want to prepare things that are out of our reach. God says, take care of what's in your reach and allow me to take care of the rest. Take care of what is in your reach and allow me to take care of the rest. Quit creating problems. Quit looking for things to repair. I've already placed the things that you need to repair in your front yard, and I'm going to use everyone in order to complete the project. And then it says here, that part about laid the beams and hung the doors with the bolts and the bars. And I began to look up beams, hung, built, bolts. So I got to bolts and I began to say, well, what is a bolt used for? It's used to fasten and it's used to secure. So the things that are already in place, a bolt is used to fasten those things and to secure those things. Bolts were not used originally, but they are used now. See, when you have to go back and rebuild things, you have to reinforce it. You have to make sure that it's not destroyed again. You want to make it better. Even if you have to do it again, you want to make it better. Again, remember, it says that they repaired it 40 things. Repaired was mentioned 40 times. Some of you have repaired something one time and it fell apart a second time, and then you didn't go back and repair it. God says go back. And if it's not for you to repair, then let those who need to repair it. But then it's the bars. The bars are made to protect. They're made as barriers. You have to put things in place to make sure that the things that you are rebuilding and restoring, the missions that God has set you on, you have to make sure that you have set up the right barriers so that the forces that come up against it won't knock it down again. Repaired. Here's the other parts that stood out to me in this chapter is that it said the goldsmiths repaired. It says that the perfumers repaired. It says that the sons repaired. It says that the leaders of half of a district repaired. The leaders of a whole district repaired. The daughters repaired. Everybody was repairing. No one is exempt. So some of us think, oh, I'm a girl, I'm fragile, I can't do that. Oh no, I'm just a son, I can't do that. Oh no, I'm too high and mighty, I can't do that. The priest repaired. He rebuilt. And so we got over, and I got over to what verse is this? Verse 16. And it says at the end of this verse, to the man-made pool, as far as the house of the mighty. To the man-made pool, what that said to me is even the things that we have orchestrated, even the things that were not in God's plans for us to do, even though he knew we were going to do them, he's even going to repair that. The things that you have set in motion, God says, I'm going to use it all. I'm going to use the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm going to use what the enemy made for your bad, and I'm going to turn it around for your good. Even the man-made pool. What wasn't designed by God, what was designed, even that, I'm going to use it. And so in the study Bible, it says, and I'm just going to read what it says because I underlined it. In most cases, these would have been massive double doorways designed to accommodate the unanticipated size of the flow of traffic. Fully loaded with camels would pass through the traffic of the gates, often two ways. And so these gates that they were repairing, you can see that they're wide. They're not small. Some of us have seen these gaps widen in our lives and we just think that they're unbearable. These are untouchable. This cannot be repaired. I must completely destroy and start over. I must move to another state. And God is saying, I can repair even the things that have been widely destroyed. These are things, they have already been designed for two-way traffic to go in and out. I am telling you that I can repair even those things. And so it continues at the fountain gate of Shalom, not only built the door, but covered them. They covered them, presumably with bronze plates instead of hinges. These doors had upper and lower extensions on their outer edges that fit into sockets and stones of wood, allowing massive weight to swing open and shut. How often do we talk about these doors opening and shutting? Massive weight is what causes doors to open and shut. We shut doors when we think that it's too hard. We open doors when we feel like the weight has been lifted. And we think that we are doing these things, but it's the weight of the world that allows these things to open and shut. But God is saying, do not destroy it. If it is still standing, just rebuild it. Just rebuild it. Just repair it. And if I call you to build it, then build it again. But right now I'm asking you to repair it. The man-made pool, even that. And it says in verse 17, after him, the Levites under Raham, the son of Bani, made repairs. The Levites. And the reason that I stop here is because what I know about the Levites is the Levites couldn't live anywhere. They were repairing things that had nothing to do with them. Things that would do them, they could not benefit them. They were just servants. Some of us, because it's not of a benefit, a direct benefit to us, we refuse to rebuild. We refuse to restructure. We refuse to help out. We refuse to push our weight. And God is saying that your job matters too. You might not benefit directly from what it is that you are rebuilding, but your children might. And so these Levites who continue to build regardless of what the benefit was, God says that though there's some of us in this world who have seen things and we have taken our hands off and we say things like, that ain't got nothing to do with me. What concern is it of yours? If it is in this world, if it is in this city, we learned in chapter 2, the city where my father's tomb lies waste and the gates are burned down. Nehemiah, it had nothing to do with Nehemiah if you look at where he was standing in that moment. but his heart still went out for Jerusalem to rebuild the walls, to help them to build and repair and restore and refurbish. He went and he did it. And I got to verse 19, and I came across the word buttress. And I said, man, what does that mean? And I looked it up, and the buttress is the part of the building that supports the wall. And so I don't know if you've ever seen a wall, but there's that beam that kind of comes up off the ground to hold the wall up to support it. What we learn in this chapter is that all the walls were knocked down, but a lot of the buttress were still standing. And so you still have the support. The support in your life is still there. It's just the wall has been knocked down. But when the wall is knocked down and everything is exposed, you think that everything is gone. And God is saying your support system is still there. Everything that you need to rebuild the wall is still there. God is your support. He is your buttress. The people that he's put in your life, those are your buttress. And they are still there and they're still rocking. And you just got to begin to repair the wall. None of the buttress, it doesn't say that any of the buttress were repaired, but it says that they begin to repair the wall that connected to the buttress, repair the wall that connected to the buttress, repair the wall that connected to the buttress, repair the wall that connect you back to Christ, repair the wall that connect you back to your support system, the things that reinforce you. And so when we go through this book of Nehemiah, we find that in all of the things that they rebuilt, the 40 times that they said rebuilding, rebuilding, rebuild, 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 repair, 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 we see that the buttress the wall had to be carefully repaired for the high priest. There's some things that you just have to be more careful about. You have to take your time. If the high priest is connected to that thing, make sure you take your time. There is value in taking your time when there is value in what is behind the wall. The things that connect to the high priest, the buttress, the buttress, the buttress. And so this one is not long, but the thing is where we're about to go in chapter 4, this first line. And I'm just going to read the first verse of chapter 4 because I want you to understand the value of chapter 3. And it says, but it so happened when Sanballat heard that they were rebuilding the wall, that he was furious and very indignant and mocked the Jews. He became furious. As we go through chapter 3, when you begin to rebuild the walls around you, when you begin to repair the breach, when you begin to connect things back to your support system, when you begin to lower the beams and lift the beams and put the bolts in place and put the bars in place, your enemies will become furious. But don't stop working. When the people around you who don't believe, every naysayer that says that you shouldn't be doing that, the people who refuse to help out in any way, not even to do their part, don't you dare stop working. And so today's word, I just encourage you as they rebuild these walls, that you begin to rebuild yours, that you do what God has called you to do. You build it, you hang it, you attach the bolts, you put in the bars, you repair what you need to repair. No matter how wide the gap is, God says, I'm going to send everybody you need, and your support system is still in place. And so I ask that this word blesses you. I ask that God blesses us, because I'm in this with you. May his face shine upon us and give us peace. But most importantly, that he blesses the hearers, the readers, and the doers of his holy word. It is our due diligence to make sure that in spite of what it looks like around us, in spite of how many walls have been burnt down or torn down, in spite of what looks like rubbish to somebody else, that you rebuild when God calls you to rebuild. That you do not abort your mission just because it looks too hard. Know that your support system is still in place. Again, I ask that he blesses you and keeps you. And I pray that these words continue to touch you. Nehemiah chapter 4 tomorrow. Love you all.